Welcome to the Cure For Stupidity Podcast, an ongoing exploration of the stupidity in real life, relationships, parenting, and more. Hello.
Hi.
We have our first official episode of the Cure For Stupidity Podcast.
Woo-hoo.
Hey.
And we just wanted to welcome you to our show. It might be a little rough. It's our first time doing this, but we wanted to explore real life. We wanted to explore parenting, want to explore relationships, want to explore what's going on in the world through the lens of the book, The Cure for Stupidity. My name's Eric M. Bailey, author of The Cure for Stupidity.
And I'm Jamie L. Bailey, his wife. We've got 3 kids. We've got a huge support system and network of both family and friends surrounding us. And we want to just talk about life.
Yeah, we've learned a lot about ourselves and about each other over the last couple of years. And we find that when we start sharing the stories that we have to share, people are really interested to see kind of a peek behind the curtain. And so we thought we'd do that, provide a peek behind the curtain. So this podcast is going to be exploration of that, of what it's like in real life, not just the kind of the curated stuff that you see on Facebook. So you get to know us pretty well. You get to know Jamie and get to know me and our little quirks. So Jamie had an idea that we should explore the book kind of principle by principle. There's 22 principles in the book, and then apply it to each other. So
well, see, and the main reason I did that is, if I look in the book here, you specifically said that I am your feedback loop and your mirror to help you see your own lack of understanding. So I'm just doing what,
I just keeping it real?
Yeah, keeping it real.
Keeping it real. Yeah. So this may get a little uncomfortable from time to time as we point out things in each other, and we've been open and honest that we are going to allow ourselves to go through this process.
And that's life.
And that's real life.
That's real.
Yeah. So if you see me getting defensive or sweating, just take it easy. It's going to be okay. We're going to make it through this. We've made it through everything so far.
So the first principle is the illusion of certainty.
The illusion of certainty.
So
I'm assuming you want to start.
Well, I was trying to think of something recently where this came up. And there's probably been already 20 today. But I can't think of any exactly. So
while you're thinking about this, how about this? So the illusion of certainty is a principle that our brains have a propensity to project certainty into the world, even if there is none. So if there's thinking of going driving from one place to another, if we're driving, we don't drive much anymore.
We don't leave our house, but yeah.
But if we're driving from one place to another, we think that this is the best way to go. And if someone goes a different way or suggests a different way, it's like, no, that's wrong. And so our brains really lock into this idea of certainty or even actually kind of on a bigger scale, what I believe to be true. Now, I think it is in fact true. And this is why we end up fighting and grading on each other so often. Not us, we wouldn't ever. But why this is happening so much in our world right now. And so that's the illusion of certainty. And so one situation that I thought of, I don't know if you're thinking of yours.
I am.
But our son Kai, he's 8 years old, and he is very much like Jamie. Like they are simpaticos. They're cut from the same cloth. And just the other day, he had lost a library book. And our kids read a lot. They read a lot. And he had lost a library book, and he loses a book once in a while. It happens regularly, kind of frequently. And so he's like running around the house trying to find this book, and like the first thing he does is, "Mom, where'd you put the book?" Like immediately puts all of the blame on her. And then when she's like, "I haven't touched the book," he's like absolutely certain. He kind of keeps like hammering, like, where did you put it? You must have
I must have moved it. When I cleaned, I must have put it somewhere.
Yeah. So this idea that he had that he didn't lose the book, all of a sudden the illusion of certainty grips him, and he says, "No, I know I didn't lose it. Someone else must have." And then I come into the picture.
This is kind of like Who Moved My Cheese? You're saying this, and all I can hear is, "Who moved my cheese?"
Who moved my library book? And so the thing is he comes in and says, "Well, because we had set up a bed in the kids' former playroom just so our mother-in-law could stay there. And he's like, Daddy, can you move the bed? It's a king-size bed. Can you move the bed? Like, assuming that I put the bed on top of a library book. And so, like, I mean, the illusion of certainty made him believe that it wasn't him that made the mistake, it was somebody else. And so that's one example that I have about the illusion of certainty. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, Jamie and Kai are cut from the same cloth. And so when Jamie tends to lose things, I notice that it tends to be my fault until we end up discovering it's exactly where she left it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have absolutely no clue what you're talking about. I do like your driving thing, though, and I will call myself out that I am a pet peeve is backtracking. So just leaving our neighborhood, you either go left to get out to the main road or right to get out to the other main road. And depending on where we're going, I have a very strong feeling about when we leave our street, whether we should be turning left to go that way or right to go the other way. And I think Eric has some habit of, I always come in this way and I always come out this way. And it's really, really hard for me sometimes when we're going to In-N-Out for some drive-through and amazing, awesome burgers. And he'll automatically turn right. As opposed to going left, which is actually where In-N-Out is. And again, does it really matter? No. Do we have anywhere else to be? No. I get that. But in the moment, like, it's so hard for me to not tell you that you are going the wrong way to get to In-N-Out.
What do you mean, hard for you not to tell me? You always tell me.
I don't always.
Okay, not always.
There are definitely some times where I refrain and I kind of check myself and say, it really doesn't matter. Like, there may be 2 extra cars in front of us in the drive-through line, but it doesn't matter.
So let me tell you, like, what happens, like, in that moment? Like, what do you, like, viscerally, what do you feel when you feel like I'm making a mistake?
How could you possibly turn right when you're supposed to go left?
and that's I think the thing that the supposed to, that's something that I like. So when I drive, it's very much, okay, I'm going to go in a direction I think that might be the right way until I get some more definition. And in my brain, so we just moved to this neighborhood, and in my brain, like, I have always gone to an In-N-Out which is on that side of town. And so I'm always thinking In-N-Out is that way, Costco is that way, not realizing that there was a closer In-N-Out, closer Costco in that direction. And so, like, I just kind of go on autopilot and go. And I'm much more free-flowing than Jamie is, like, much more free-flowing. And so when those things come up, it tends to be a problem. And
like, a relaxing trip to go pick up takeout should not be bothersome to me. Right. And yet by the time that we're to the end of the street, I can already be irritated.
Yeah.
And it's like, why didn't I just drive? Then I wouldn't have to deal with this. Like, I should have just driven. But then also, I don't really want to drive. Like, I like chilling in the passenger seat.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
But you're right. Like, I am very focused.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that, like, dinner's going to happen. And then if we can get it done fast enough, we can play Ticket to Ride. And if we can get that done, in a timely manner, the kids can still do their list and get ready for bed and not have, like, the bedtime crazy. So, like, I am thinking way too far ahead when we get to the end of our street, and one wrong turn, which probably means nothing, in my head seems catastrophic to the plans that I've made for the evening.
Yeah, and that's something I noticed. So a potentially 45-second difference in time could mean, like, the end of the world
in my head.
In your head.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Because I am certain that you ruined the evening by turning right.
Did I?
No.
Have I ever ruined the evening by turning right?
I don't know.
That's yet to be seen.
No, probably not.
And so that's something that's really interesting. I think between us is that we process things very differently, and where the illusion of certainty comes to play for me is this is going to be a little hard to say. It's like I'm certain you're overreacting, right? Like, I am certain that. So where you think that my turning right is going to ruin the evening, I'm thinking your overreaction is going to ruin the evening, right? And I'm certain about that. And then I get all offended that you got so offended. And that's something that I end up feeling a lot. It's like, why, like, let it go. Just, what's wrong? Just let it go. It's going to be fine. You know, and it's funny how, like, it seems like from your point of view, I've created this catastrophic problem. And then from my point of view,
I'm currently creating
this catastrophic
and manifesting it for the next 10 minutes when we sit in the drive-through lane and I'm like, we could have been here faster.
And then the idea of the illusion of certainty is really, it prevents us from actually getting into whatever it is we need to discuss. Yeah. You know, like I've actually never heard you say that you've got a clear plan on going left or going right. I've never actually heard you say that, like ever.
I think it every time we leave the house. It's like, do I tell him which way he's supposed to go? So like, generally speaking, even when we're going to places that we go to regularly, which would be like the Click List parking lot for fries or the drive-through of In-N-Out, like there's not very many places that we go. I will generally try to pull up GPS for you and have it up before we leave so that you know which way to go. Because like my brain is programmed like a GPS, like in my head. Like if there's half a second to save, Google Maps will tell you. And Waze will tell you, and my brain knows what those shortcuts are.
I love that analogy. I'm about to blow your mind here.
What?
So there are two things that GPS does that maybe you can do if your brain is like GPS. Number one,
traffic.
No, not more detail.
Okay.
Number one is similar time. So it'll show like these other routes that are about the same amount of time. Like it's like within a minute, it doesn't matter, right? So you can maybe...
It matters!
No,
it matters!
But you can allow for that. And the second thing, which might be the most beneficial, is recalculating. So if the driver happens to make the wrong turn, you can recalculating.
Okay.
And like recalibrating.
Every time you turn now, do you know what I'm going to say to you?
Recalculating. Yeah. And it's like, and it's okay again.
Okay.
So now it's a new baseline.
Deal. I cannot wait. This is my new favorite word.
So, and here's the interesting thing. So, when I leave the house, because we're in a new neighborhood, there's a lot of things that I don't know the general direction to go. And so I'm actually sitting there waiting for you to tell me where to go.
And that's why you always go right, because the In-N-Out, not In-N-Out the restaurant, but the route is longer, so you're buying time. There's a roundabout involved. There's other things involved. And to me, it irritates me to go that way because there's a roundabout involved and it's longer. And it's like, there's such a quick way to get out of the neighborhood. Why are we taking the long way out? Yeah. So I guess that makes a little bit more sense why you generally go that way first.
Yeah. And it's interesting to hear you say that like you're holding back from telling me, because that's actually the thing that I'm looking for. Is like, even if we like get in the car, like left or right, like maybe that's the thing we do now. Yeah. We just drive out of the... Look at this, we're solving all of our problems just in
recalculating.
In the first episode.
All of our problems? Well,
driving is all of our problems.
Okay. And all certainty revolves around driving?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I see that the illusion of certainty plugs in for us a lot is in when we argue and when we fight, and we argue and we fight, and we're really good at it. I mean, we've been married for 13 years, and we're getting pretty good at fighting and arguing. We can hold our own with the best of them. No, but what I see a lot of times in our arguments and our fights, it's just kind of this pattern of usually I do something that frustrates you. And then you get frustrated, and then I don't see why you're frustrated. Actually, it's basically the same thing as the car, right? Basically. And then I see that you're overreacting, and it's like you shouldn't have to have this kind of reaction. And then like what I end up doing on my end is my first reaction is literally just to grab on tight to all of the things that I know to be certain, and many of them are just my opinions. Right, but many of them are like, look at all of these, like this, all these different ways that you have caused this problem for us. And I hold on with the illusion of certainty. And so when you express your frustration or upset, Like I'm sitting there thinking, but can't you see how you've caused all of these things? Because of certainty. And
I'm certain that you've done these things intentionally. And that's the other thing that I feel like unpacked a lot, especially during quarantine, where there's definitely things that happen. And to me, it's like, I feel hurt that you intentionally did something or didn't do something. You made a decision. And for you, there was no decision involved. It was just either you forgot or you never thought 2 steps down the road or 3 steps of what that could mean. And you're doing stuff totally oblivious to how I might be interpreting what those actions are. And I am certain that you did it to hurt me.
Yeah.
And that's hard, like to let go of the fact that you really could just be human and make mistakes and maybe not intentionally do those things. Because in my perspective, you had to know, like you had to see what that would make me feel. You had, like, we know each other really well. Like you had to understand what that would mean to me. And it's really hard.
It's so clear.
For me, it's so clear. It's hard to give you that grace to say, like, no, like I didn't, and to not kind of dig in further and go, no, you did. Like, you knew. Like, it's hard to let go of that and say, are you okay? Like, I'll trust you or I'll believe you that, there wasn't intent behind that.
Yeah. It's funny because I find myself in those situations like trying to explain myself, like hoping that if I explain like what I was thinking in that moment, it'll help you feel better. Like, oh, you're not a jerk.
Which goes one of 2 ways. I feel like I'm being coached. I feel like I'm being managed. Or I do actually feel sympathetic and understand and, I'm like, all right, I get it. Like, and there are certain things where I'm making it mean something way more than it really doesn't. And I'll get that. Like once you start to say it, I'm like, yeah, like I get it. Like that's fine. But there are a lot of other times where I feel like I am being managed or coached. And I get that that's what you do for so many other humans, but I'm not that human sometimes. And in our house, we get to just talk. I don't get, it's hard for me to get coached.
No, I totally get it. And I think kind of the reciprocal of that is that you have seen me coach and present for so long that you do it too. Like you know how to do it too.
Me?
Yeah. And so there'll be times where like you point out like, are you being a know-it-all? Or that's the illusion, like, and you're pointing these things out to me. Yeah. And I get it. It feels weird. Like if I didn't sign up for this thing, I didn't sign up to like, help me understand myself better right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the middle of whatever it is I need help with.
But you gave me full permission.
I did.
Just saying. You gave me full permission.
You're it. And I think that's the most odd part about writing this book, is that kind of everyone just assumes that I'm the perfect communicator.
Sorry. Who was that? I'm sorry.
I'm gonna edit that part out. No, but everyone has
extrovert.
Everyone has this idea that I'm the perfect communicator, and I'm very clearly not. And I think like all of the stuff that I put in the book are these are basic human things, like things that all humans deal with, including me. Yeah. And the fact that you have such an intimate knowledge of all of this content. It's clear to you when I'm falling into these pitfalls as well. And a lot of times it's interesting that you call me out on them when they happen. Because yes, I wrote the book. Yes, I'm technically the expert in this stuff, but these are basic human things and I'm dealing with them too. Yeah. And you can see it so clearly, so often. Mm-hmm. And I imagine that you hold your tongue a lot more than you normally would. Because when these things show up,
I think for me, not to cut you off, even though I'm really good at that.
You did.
But I don't. A lot of times, I don't correlate things back to the book. So I'm in the same pitfall of. It's rare that I'm able to get the, clarity to say, that's the illusion of certainty. Like usually, I'm like. and I get all emotionally affected by it in my own humanness, just like you're doing these things in your humanness, and the humanity is what's taking over, as opposed to the what we should, what we're trained, or what we've studied, what we've actually said we're going to practice and do. Like those things, it's harder to hold on to those in the moment. So I don't know that I honestly refrain or hold back from saying it. Because again, I'm an extrovert, and pretty much if I'm thinking it, it's coming out of my mouth. But the times that I do call it out, that's when I'm actually like holding on to it and saying like, oh, look at this, like here it is. And those moments are what I think would help us a little bit in some ways. And not like me coaching you and like giving you a taste of your own medicine, but more along the lines of, healthy, like, we have this common language, we have this common understanding, we have, these things that we know we're going to fall victim to. And if we can kind of talk about them openly and say like, all right, let's break this down. Okay. Here's where this is, here's where I'm at. I was feeling this, you were feeling that. And I think that when we have those moments, that's when we have some of our healthiest, arguments or, discussions or whatever. Like that's when it's actually working, is when we do call it out. And I feel like when we don't call it out or refer to it, that's when it takes us a lot longer to finally break it down and get back to, you didn't do it intentionally, I didn't overreact. Like we both just had all of these things that, bubbled up in the moment, and we didn't go back to what we could have done to make it smoother for everybody involved.
I like that when you talk about just the length of time it takes to come back, because like the visual that I have is when we get into our arguments, it's like it's very clear, like boom, now we're like we've distance. Separated, we're separated, and there is a distance between us, exactly, and then like, and this is going to be really interesting, is that thinking about who is the first one to take a step forward. And oftentimes I feel like it's me, but thank you for agreeing with me on that.
I don't know if I agree. You said I think, and I knew you were going to think that. So
but the interesting thing is, as I kind of really play it back, the first step I usually take is trying to get you to see it from my point of view, which isn't necessarily taking a step closer. Right? It's basically just saying like, hey, you
get my piece in.
And because I'm still holding on to certainty. Like the way that I see it is the way it is. And that's just a little realization I just had in this moment, that when we think about when we are both able to kind of let go of our certainty, and I think one of the interesting distinctions is certainty and confidence are different things. Like it's okay to be, I'm fairly confident you were being a jerk when you said that.
Cool. I can just start using that then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But it's like, but I'm not certain, so, but why not? Because it's a different thing to be confident about something without being certain. And certainty means that I know it to be fact, right? Nothing.
No ifs, and buts.
No ifs, ands, or buts. There's no room for interpretation here.
Yeah.
But being confident, it's like, okay, I feel very strongly that this is true, but I'm open to changing my opinion should you give me other
so just like with the kids, we give them the growth mindset yet. It's the same almost here of I'm 99% sure, but I will give that 1% of maybe I'm not.
Possibility.
Just that sliver of being open will help even further, bring that time that it takes for us to come back together. So I get that. I hear that. And I know that I started by being sarcastic about just starting to use the word I'm fairly confident, because that's a really easy thing for me to use. But I understand also the mindset that I need to have with that if I'm saying I'm confident as opposed to certain, that I really need to leave that opening to hear the other side.
Or I know, right? So I know this to be true.
Okay, I've never said that.
Well, so here's the interesting thing when it comes so outside of like our relationship, when it comes to dealing with people on Facebook, or it comes to dealing with the kids, how that certainty how easy it is to slip into that. And especially was like, I'm trying to make this point. And so then anything that kind of funnels into that point, I need to be equally as confident in and certain. And so then I kind of broaden my certainty beyond my actual certainty. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I know this to be true. I know you're wrong. I know you're an idiot. I know this. And I see myself doing this a lot of trying to engage with people through certainty. And I think that I have this something inside of me that the more certain I project, like the more certain I am, or the first more certain that they think that I am, the more likely it is they're going to change their opinion, which isn't true.
Not going to happen.
No, and that's something that I see a lot of times in work relationships or in family relationships, and I feel like that's something that I have to learn, mm-hmm. that I can learn, because I see it impacting things time and time again.
Yeah, for parenting. We're expected to be the authority. We're expected to, know it all, have the solution, have the answer. And for me as a parent, I come into the room, I see complete, mayhem, destruction. There's Hot Wheels here and Legos there, and I don't even know what else underneath the table shoved on the floor. But, I come into the room and I assess and very quickly know with certainty who's to blame, what happened. I wasn't even in the room. I wasn't even listening. And yet when I walk in the room, I know exactly what happened, which is...
Should have put that out.
Maybe. But, it's the act, as a parent. Like, that's what we do. We come in, we know exactly what's going on. We know exactly the punishment. We know exactly, what needs to be done to rectify the, thing, to make it a learning moment and a teachable moment, but also, make sure that I, let them know exactly, where they went wrong and try to help them figure out that next time and in the future, what are we going to do from here? And, you go through all those things, and there's a number of times where the kids are like, wait, no. And we don't even allow them to, get those words out because we're so confident that we know exactly what it is. And I can't tell you the number of times that, the kids just go with the flow. They do exactly what I say. They're, good little soldiers, listening to this terrible leader at the top, telling them that I know exactly what happened. And it's not until bedtime or, dinner time when, we're all calm and cool and everything's kind of in the past. And, at bedtime we're cuddling. And then they'll say, yeah, well, it didn't exactly happen that way. And then they tell me, and, I don't have my certainty anymore. And with my softened heart, now I listen to them and I have to go back and apologize because I blamed the wrong kid. Or, I threw everyone into the group and, they're a team and, I don't care if it was you or not. But then, they'll tell me that they were on my team and they were trying actively to get the siblings to clean with them, or, they were actively doing it. And I totally threw them in the deep end of the pool with the other kids to say, like, nope, you're all a part of the problem. And so that's the illusion of certainty in parenting. And I feel like that's, as much as I get it and I do it with you, with the kids, is I feel like I have to do it.
You're supposed to.
Like, I'm supposed to do this. It's such a catch-22. And the number of times that I'm totally shooting blank, like, I have no idea, shooting blind. Not shooting blanks, shooting blind. The number of times that I'm just sitting there, walking into a room and I have to just completely go. And at the end of the day, I do have to do some apologies, or I do have to do some damage control, for what happened, earlier in the day and kind of what I did and how I was so certain that I knew and maybe I didn't.
Yeah. It's funny. I want to commend you because something that you do more than I do, more than a lot of people do, is when that sort of thing happens and we do get that feedback, you are very quick, maybe not quick, but you are consistent in apologizing and saying, I was wrong. And I think that teaches a very valuable lesson to the children.
I don't know where I heard it or read it or whatever, but it was talking about how if we want our kids to, admit their mistakes or talk to us and come to us with they're ugly and they're nasty and they're gross, and if we want them to trust us, mm-hmm. we have to show them that we are equally, damaged. Yeah. That I'm equally making mistakes every single day, that I'm equally have apologies to give out and, you know, transgressions to admit to other people. I can't just be this almighty, you know, dictator at the top saying, nope, whatever I say goes, no matter what. If I make mistakes, deal with it, you know.
What would the world look like if more people spent time apologizing and admitting fault and not that like, oh, everything's awful, but just like, hey, this was wrong. So no one else has to question like, was that wrong? Did you really like, or at least like behind the back or behind your back or anything? It's like, no, I made a mistake, and acknowledging that. And I think that kind of as a society, we've been so afraid of admitting mistakes or even apologizing.
Yeah.
Like that is something that when you think about in the context of the illusion of certainty, is the more certain we are, the less likely we are to admit we made a mistake because it's too embarrassing. You know, because if I'm dead certain that the sky is blue and it turns out the sky is actually pink or whatever, I'm, you know, making something up, but like the more convicted we are that the way we see things, the way it is, and we're telling everybody, if it turns out not to be that way, it becomes like exponentially more embarrassing than if we said, I think it to be this way. And so like recognizing that the illusion of certainty is a thing in our regular daily lives, our interactions with other humans, how detrimental that can be to the long-term effects of the relationships. Because the more certain we are, the less likely we are to apologize when we make mistakes. The more certain we are, the less likely we are to even just be real with their point of view or acknowledge their point of view. And I think that there's a lot for a lot of us to learn there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So that's the first episode.
Yeah, that's it. We're at time. Okay.
We made it through the first episode. If you have anything that you'd like to ask us, because obviously we're going to be answering honestly and openly. If you want to ask us anything or ask any questions, we have a couple that we'll start addressing next week.
Yeah, we did get a couple questions. Yeah, that will.
Yeah, so feel free to do so. You know, we're here to be an open book, and honestly, we're exploring our own relationship and our parenting and the world that we're living in right now. We didn't get into anything about race or racism, which will be probably a whole
not yet,
probably a whole month's worth of podcasts. So look forward to that, and you know. Thank you. So if you didn't know, Jamie was very, very nervous to do this. So I've been encouraging her for the last couple of months to step in. So you did a great job.
Thanks. And I wore 2 earrings this week. Thank you very much. I opted for a set of earrings that had a pair so that I wouldn't be called out again for my earring choice. And that way, you know, my neck could move free.
And you can wear your hair up.
Oh, yes. Which is generally how my hair is going to be. So
exactly.
We're good.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks. You did all right.
Rude.